Real Talk with Jean Price. Upcoming on Real Talk with Jean Price.
Become that warrior to that other sister. I dare everybody that's listening to your voice, that I can see the feed, that's listening to my voice. I dare each one of these sisters to get behind somebody else. We don't know what they're facing. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk with Jean Price. Listen, we have a wonderful show that is planned for you tonight. Our previous guest that was scheduled to be with us could not make it, but I have somebody else in the waiting room that's going to be coming out shortly. Listen, you still have time to set up a watch party. Tell your family and your friends that we are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And better yet, we are now live on the Inspired Living Network every Friday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Listen, Real Talk is going someplace, and we are so grateful to God that He has opened up beautiful doors for us, and we are going right through those doors. The Bible says that the steps of a good man, they are ordered by God, and for that, we give Him thanks. I just have a couple of announcements. You saw our T-shirts that was featured. It was our signature. It was Real Talk with Jean Price. If you want a T-shirt, there you go. Being real is our power. And we are women of destiny. We are women of power. We have the underpinning of God in our lives. If you would like a T-shirt, please put your email in the chat, and we will make sure that we get in touch with you. We make sure that you get a T-shirt. We're going to get them in black as well as white. But I already have had a couple of people that was interested. And you know what's so awesome? My granddaughter interviewed me on her show. She's a talk show host as well. And it's called Morgan's Minutes, and we wore the shirts, and it was absolutely great. So we have some great things that are coming in store. Springtime is here. Be surprised. We have beautiful colors that are going to be coming out. Some great stuff is in store for Real Talk with Jean Price coming up in the spring. I would like to introduce my guest. She was on the show before, and it was such a delight to have her with me. This topic that we're going to be talking about tonight is very dear to my heart because Lady Jasmine and I have this in common. So I would like to welcome Lady Jasmine Solomon from the Excelling Church. She's going to be coming on the show. So we want you to get ready. We want you to start chiming in our comments. We want you to share, to like. Thank you, Angela, for joining me tonight, and Shalana. And yes, God bless you. Pastor Patrice Powell is on with us tonight. So we want you to be engaged. Lady Solomon is in the house, and we're going to have a discussion about the evolution of the First Lady. Thank you for joining me tonight, Lady Jasmine.
Thank you for having me. I'm certainly honored that you would call a little of me to be a part of your show. I'm excited and I'm honored.
Oh, Jasmine, Lady Jasmine, it is always a pleasure again to have you on the show. This discussion is going to be really interesting because you and I both are first ladies in our churches. And it's been an interesting ride, I have to say the least. And I'm pretty sure for you, it's been an interesting ride, but I would dare say that God has equipped us for it. So we're in a position, right? So we're in a position to talk about it and to be able to share with other women what it's like being a first lady. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your church first, and we'll go from there.
My husband and I started the Excelling Church back in 2016. So we're little babies in this, about 5 years now. But I've been in church my whole life. My dad is a pastor. My mom is a first lady. So this is like all the life I've known. And this is also why I kind of shunned away. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to marry a pastor. It's not in my list of things to do. But of course, God saw fit to have me marry a pastor. We have a beautiful family of 5 children, ages from 16 all the way down to 1 year old. So our house is pretty full. We just got a little puppy, so that we added on to our family. That's us.
You know, Jasmine, you said something, and this is why I chuckle, and I hope the ladies are watching tonight because you get to hear the inside of what we go through. But I remember when my husband was called to be a pastor, because we know God calls us. We understand curse comes from him. But when the church had gotten together about him becoming taking over our church because our pastor had passed away. This was in 2003. Jasmine, I sat at the table and I said, I don't want this. I remember sitting at the table saying, wait a minute, I don't want now. I am not stopping you. I'm talking to my husband.
Right.
I'm stopping you, right? From doing whatever God's called you to do. That's not, I don't do that. I don't interfere with God's business. But Jasmine, I remember saying it to my husband, and I tell you, man, I went in this thing fighting, kicking, screaming. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did, but I did because
completely understand. My husband was a traveling evangelist at the time. He was just in a church. He was a youth pastor at the time, and he was a traveling evangelist. So I'm like, okay, like you can travel. That's great. We go to church. We're not leading nobody. You go on the road, you preach. But then he was like, oh, I think it's time to start a ministry. And I'm like, oh, but if God told you to do that, do that. But I'm gonna be at the door. I told him I want to be a part of the hospitality ministry. Let me hug the people when they come in. That's all I want to do.
Wow. Well, let's dive into this conversation because, like I said, the women today. And listen, if you have any questions, ladies, we're asking that you put it in the chat so Lady Jasmine and I can just keep dialoguing about it. From your perspective, how are women utilized in the church? Like, how do you feel? From your perspective, like what do you think people think our role should be opposed to what our role is?
I think the women have definitely progressed in the church. There was a time when women didn't have a voice in church at all. All you did was pray. You were part of the intercessory team.
Right.
That's what the women were used for at the time. They weren't like, we were missionaries, stuff like that. Missionary intercessors, that was like as far as it would go. And I think we've become more progressive with now we have women pastors, women leaders who are taking on the role in leading other people. And it's just not about a women's ministry. It's greater than just a women's ministry that we can reach men as well. It's not just, we're not limited. I think that's like the biggest thing. We're not limited to just women's ministry.
Right. That's a blessing. And it's really true. One of the things too is that you're right. A lot of churches, and please, when I say this, I say no disrespect to any ministry that does do this, but in churches, some of them that I came up in, because I've been saved since I was 16, I'm 55 now, and they didn't believe in women pastors. And my pastor was so out of the box, Lady Jasmine. She was profound. She was really before her time. I mean, she did a teaching years ago talking about the Black family. And this is way before Bishop T.D. Jakes came on board. And I remember she would go minister and people really shunned her because they didn't believe in women speaking in church. And to me, she was so out of the box, but yet I feel like now, especially in where I am now, I'm standing on her shoulders, so to speak.
Exactly.
Because, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because there are so many wonderful, great women of God that opened the doors for women like you and I now.
I absolutely agree, 100%. Women didn't have a voice. And I think it's beyond just like the church. Of course, we're talking about the church today, but you see it from evolution of history, period. We weren't even counted as people. So from that point to here and now that we are able to have these talks and these sessions are amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's true. So let me ask this question from because it's all from our perspectives. How do you think things have changed since the pandemic as far as us women in church? Like, what do you think is the change has been? Because I know in our church, like you and I were talking backstage, we're going to be going back to church. And I can remember the times, and probably Lady Carla's on here too from North Carolina. She could probably agree with me with this one. There were times, Lady Jasmine, I had to step in to be the choir director. I was the church secretary. And I keep going. I mean, you name it, I have done it. So what's it like from your perspective when it comes to things like that?
I think when we first started, of course, our ministry, it was me and my husband. I was the media person. We literally started in our home. We had the e-church. So this is not new to us, this virtual church services. This was 2016 and we started the e-church and it was strictly online. We didn't have a building. So for a couple of months, we were strictly online. And of course, I was the person behind the camera holding it down, like we're gonna get through this. We had a broken tripod. We love to tell a story. We had a broken tripod, but we were just getting the message of Jesus Christ out. We didn't care like how we had to do it. We just knew we had to do it. So to get to this point now, well, thank God, we have an amazing media ministry here at the Excelling Church that has came and took the weight off of us a little bit. So
Right.
I don't have to do everything. We have great administrators because that's just not my field. I think that's a lot of times like the wife gets stuck in the administrative field. That's
Yes.
not my area.
Right.
So I'm glad I don't have to take that on. We have people who are equipped to handle that. So thank God that we have people now that are equipped to handle those roles.
It's really true. And so many women come in the church and they aspire. And I think this is a great question to kind of throw out there for my listeners as well. There are people that aspire to have what we have, if I can just say that for a moment. And this is in no disrespect to anybody. It's just that God called him, God called them.
Right.
If you understand what I'm saying, because we're one.
Right.
There are many women that aspire to be a pastor's wife, aspire to have what we have. I've been in situations where I've had women be jealous of the position that I hold. Of course, this is years and years ago. We've been in the industry now since, like I said, since 2003. What do you do about something like that? I mean, I don't know if you've ever gone through that, but I have. I've gone through that where I've had women,
Yeah.
maybe
I get it.
my husband should be their husband. I mean, we're just being honest here, right?
Right.
Real
Because
talk.
people
It's
do
real
they
talk.
do feel like, well, she don't do this and she don't do that, so she's not the right person for him. Sweetheart, if you think you can do a better job at this, I think everybody aspires to be in this position until they are actually in this position. And a
Right.
lot of people who are in the position are people that have not aspired to be in the position. So like
I'm
a lot of first ladies that I know, they always said like this wasn't their path that they wanted to choose. Like this not something that they asked God to be. It just so happened that this is what God has equipped us to be. So
yes.
it may look nice, it may look pretty, but there's so like the weight of ministry and the weight of your like because your position is so unique.
Yes.
It's so unique. Like everybody, oh yes, pastor, like they're glorifying the pastor. They don't realize how he's allowed to be who he is because he has you with him.
Amen.
We're one. We complete each other. So it takes a lot to carry the burden of the ministry with the pastor. If you think you can handle this,
Yes.
ask God to give you a pastor for a husband, and then you'll see exactly how hard it is. It's not an easy walk in the park. It's not us just sitting here. I don't do it, but back in the day it was, you have the big brim hats, and it's not just to sit here and look pretty or to have the title or feel like you have the power in the church, because it's way more than that. That's not like what you see on Sundays or during the service. That's like the smallest part
Come
of
on.
what it takes to lead.
That's right. That's right. And you were speaking truth. And we're going to go a little deeper into this, but I have to just, what you're saying, Jasmine, is so true, because people look on the outside, and I'm glad you brought that up, because being a first lady means it's not just about, to your point, and I don't do it either, wear the big hats and respect to anybody that does. It's just, I don't. But it's a lot. It's more than that. It's being able to, first of all, to minister to your husband.
Right. Because that's
You
my
know,
first ministry beyond the church.
beyond the church. And I hope, everyone's listening to me, those that are married, you have to minister to your husband. And that's one of the things I try to be a woman of wisdom. And I try to be that, that first line of defense in the sense of when prayer is concerned for your husband. And you brought up something that's so true. Until you're in somebody's shoes, you don't know if you can fit them. Come on.
Nope.
You don't know if you can fit them. And first ladies, sometimes, just hear me out, audience, we can get, we kind of get the darts thrown at us first, because I do understand. I understand my role. I understand I'm very leadership. Trust me, I'm good. But my point is, sometimes we get the darts before the dart hits my husband. It'll come to me. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because if there's any first ladies, co-pastors on the line today, we want to be able to let them understand that we are with them. Understand what I'm saying? I've had people be upset with me. let me tell you the story. One lady in the church was upset because somebody passed away, and I knew nothing about it. My husband knew and had already assigned a minister to take care of it, but she was upset with me. And I said, well, I didn't even know anybody had passed away. So I thought it was so interesting how a lot of times we're put in those positions and people, they don't have that regard I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. And I think that the truth be told, we deserve that regard because we are sometimes the first line of attack or
Yeah, we
defense.
have a lot of people who just assume.
They
They
do.
just assume everything. Like just because this is what you think it is doesn't necessarily mean it is
Yes,
what it is.
yes, yes, yes. Do you believe that oftentimes women's worth is defined by the success of our husbands? Like, do you think, and I just because it's you and I
Mhm.
talking, do you feel that your success is defined because Pastor Solomon is successful in
I
ministry?
think I think that's the way it's been for years.
Okay,
But I had a conversation with my friend the other day, and I said I don't want to just be known as being Prophet Jarrell Solomon's wife. I think
okay,
that a lot of us get caught up in just like the husband, the husband, the husband. I think, but now we're moving into the generation of uh, first ladies, as you would say, who are excelling far beyond what people imagine they would do. Like my, who I call my big sister, Sarah Jakes. She is
yeah,
a first lady, but
she is.
her ministry has, I might even say, superseded her husband's.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think we're moving into that where we want to stand on our own 2 feet. It's not just about what my husband could do, but I have a voice too. I have something too. And it's not necessarily always in ministry with him.
Mm,
There's a lot of first ladies who are called to marketplace.
yes,
They're
yes,
not just called to ministry. They're called to the marketplace, and we have to be able to handle that. People think, oh, just because she's the first lady, she's supposed to be up there doing this. She's supposed to be co-pastor. She's supposed to be executive pastor, but that's not always true.
right. And you brought up Sarah Jakes, and I highly respect and honor her, and she is a trailblazer. But her mom is amazing to me
She
because
is.
you know what I'm saying. Like
I think
Bishop,
she stands on the shoulders of her mother. She couldn't have got that far without standing on the shoulders of her mother. Sarita
and I
Jakes
love
also. Go ahead.
it. And I love it because Sarita Jakes, she's called Mrs. Sarita Jakes. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
she's not first
But if
lady.
you look outside of the Potter's house, she's doing so many wonderful things. I mean, she has I think it's I want to say a candle line, but I
Yep.
think she has like home. I say home
Yes.
type
Yes.
item.
Sarita Jake's home. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It is. I love it, Lady Solomon. I love it, and
I
I
love it.
love that. Like you said,
Another first lady that I look up to is Lady Andrea Hudson, Archbishop Hudson's wife. She's
okay,
completely ministry and marketplace. She just became pastor of their church, but she writes plays, she writes books, she hosts different conferences for women, and those are the people that I aspire to be like. People that are not just one sided and one dimensional, that they can reach masses of through other avenues that's just not in the church building.
right, right. It's really true. You know, I didn't realize the calling on my life the way it was until one day I realized that God had given me purpose too.
Hmm.
Again, what we're saying, we're not taking away from the leadership. We understand the protocol, and it's been
Right.
established. We get all that. Trust me, that's just how we are. But I didn't realize that until one day, women started really like being attracted, not to me, to the anointing and the calling
Right.
on my life. And to your point, you're so correct. And then it started evolving. It's almost
Mhm.
like the doors began. They just started swinging open, and I'm sitting there like, to
What's
your
this?
yeah, because I thought, and can I make you laugh, Lady
Mhm.
Jasmine? When we first became leaders, I thought I was supposed to be, sitting in a
Yeah,
pew supporting my husband, and I'm all for that. But evidently, God did not have that for me.
there's
I
more.
I traveled before COVID more than my husband traveled around the country, and even I had some international engagements more than he did. So
Mhm.
it's interesting how God really does. God is the one that chooses,
Yeah,
not us. It's not us. It's God that chooses whom He wants to get His
right,
way.
right. Husbands hold down the fort at home. Minister, we're all assigned to different people.
Oh yeah,
Who he reaches necessarily might not be who I reach. Who I reach is probably different from who he would reach. But it's what God has given us. You just have to find your purpose and find your walk. Don't just sit and just assume that I'm just gonna be here. Just let God, order your steps into where lead you and guide you to where He wants you to do.
it's true. What are some of the areas in church? Let's go a little deeper. We're both we're women, and we're
Mhm.
Lady Solomon, Lady Price. What are some of the things that we can do in ministry? to help other women, I guess find that part of them that's down in there. Like, just like I just said, I didn't realize so much was in me until God began
Mhm.
to show me. But how can we, and those that are, we have some pastors that are literally on the line watching us tonight. What are some of the things we can do? Because apparently God has called us to
Mhm.
do what we're doing. But how can we help other women, though, find that within themselves?
I think that's somewhere where I am currently, where I'm trying to figure out, okay, God, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And I really think it's just being centered with God and letting Him take the lead.
Yeah.
Like we have desires in our hearts and everything, but it's like, God, this is my desire, this is my needs, but what do you have for me to do? Make your thoughts my thoughts. Like, what, help me to see where you want me to go. I think that's a very good question, because I think I've been in that place and I've kind of been going around circles around it, and some people have spoken into my life, they're like, this is what you know, this is, but I'm like, I don't know for sure. But
Mm,
it's really just being one with God and allowing Him to use you however He may choose.
wow.
Like, God, you want me to go this way? Okay, okay, this is what I'm doing. Even when, like, the call to be on the show, it's like, okay, God, you know, I don't speak. I kind of take the back row. But if this is something that you want me to do, equip me for this.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely. And ladies that are watching us tonight, please chime in. Put your questions in the chat. We want you to just talk with us as we're talking together tonight, because this is such a great topic, because not everybody's a first lady or co-pastor, but yet we're all women. And I
Right.
think it's so important that we what I like, Lady Solomon, is when there's a platform. And when I say platform, I'm not talking about being on the pulpit. I'm
No.
talking when there's a platform, we can talk one toward the other. You know,
Yes.
I
And
think
this is
that,
a perfect example of a platform that we can just have dialogue.
yeah. Angela just chimed in and she said, Amen. Listen, God can use anybody. And Angela, you are absolutely correct.
Anybody.
Anybody,
Anybody.
anybody, and He can.
Anybody. He doesn't
And
have no respect of person.
no, He doesn't. He really doesn't. And it's outside the four walls sometime where a lot of true ministry is. When you go out and you're in the store, whether it's you or me or, anybody, that Michelle just chimed in, when you're out there witnessing to somebody while you're standing on the line saying Rite Aid, that's ministry.
It is. It is. And I might say that I think that is more effective than us just staying in the four walls of the church.
Mhm.
I guess this is okay, God. I guess this is the passion and purpose, meeting right now. It just clicked to me. Like,
That's
my heart is to like women in shelters, like outside of the church, like broken women out there. Like, that's what my heart is. That's what my heart is. It's for, of course, I love my ladies, and of course, like, please, I don't want nobody to get me twisted, get me wrong. Like, oh, she said she don't want to do nothing in church. That's not it. But to reach people that have not heard the gospel of Jesus Christ, to
yeah.
go out beyond the church, not just be in here and, in the churches, sitting on the gifts and talents that God has given us, but taking it outside and reaching other people. That's really like my heart's desire.
That's beautiful. Because I have an abusive background, child abuse, sexual abuse. That was
Mhm.
always my desire. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that you said that. And I hope and pray that even the women that are listening tonight, to be able to go back, and everybody has their own story and where God gets glory. And I get that.
Right.
But that was my desire to go into those places, like you said, shelters and
Mhm.
places where women need us.
Right.
We are going to be the only, if I can say, the only Christ, or the only what it looks like to be saved that some people are going to see. You walking into a shelter and telling another woman you can make it
Right.
will be the only sense of salvation, the only peace, the only something that they may feel. And it might be your voice, Lady Jasmine, that be
Mhm.
for her to go, I can make it. I
Right.
can make it. So my prayer for you is that you do not stop. Oh, if that's your desire,
Mhm.
you go, as we say in our church, you go forth and conquer it, because it's amazing. There are women out there. The Bible says the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few.
Mhm.
And if God can
That's right.
label you as a laborer, to go out there and help.
Yes.
You know what I'm
God,
saying?
I'll be a laborer. If that's what you want me to do, I'll be that. And you just spoke
Yeah,
about your past, your abusive past.
yeah,
There's always purpose. And I said this yesterday on a live that I really, there's always purpose behind the pain that we experience. God will use every single thing, that's from the biggest to the smallest, for us to help somebody else. We overcome by the words of our testimony. People will be able to be healed and set free because of what you possess, that your husband can't tell that story for you.
that's
As
it.
first lady, my husband can't tell my story for me. I have the story to tell myself that will help other women, and impact other women to know that they can make it.
Yeah, yeah. Pastor Jacqueline Hadley Eccles chimed in and she said, I believe that pastors' wives, a pastor's wife, need more support and support between themselves. Oh, this is good to have an outlet. Being a pastor's wife can be a lonely place.
That's
Thank you for
very
that,
true.
Pastor Hadley. We need to talk about that. Do you find sometimes that it's a lonely place?
I
Yes.
definitely believe that it's a lonely place. It can be a very lonely place. There's so, because no one really understands that no one really understands the role unless you are a pastor's wife. And this whole, I've got asked to join like pastor wives groups and stuff like that, but then I don't know if I feel completely comfortable in those spaces, because to be honest, the church is where I got hurt at a lot. So
Mm,
it's like I don't know if it's safe enough for me to trust these other pastors' wives. Um, and one, like, it can be a very lonely place. Sometimes it's just you and God, because like, God, you understand, where I'm at, how I feel, and I can't quite really talk this out with somebody who isn't in this position, who doesn't know.
right. Well,
Mm.
Stacy Robinson Long just chimed in, has a question. Why is it a lonely place? Great question, Stacy. Thank you. Why is it a lonely place, Jasmine? Lady Jasmine.
Like I said, I don't think everyone understands, and every ministry is different. So even if you know a pastor's wife, her ministry may not be the same as your ministry. So it's completely different. The call that she has is completely different from the call that you have, and it's not many people that you can talk with that's on the same level as you. Like I said, like the first lady groups, it's really scary. You can't let your guard down, because you don't want your business somewhere, and then you're covering your husband at the same time, covering the ministry at the same time. So you kind of just, I'm gonna just take this one, and me and God gonna have it out.
Yeah, yeah. You know, one of the things that it does do, it does increase your relationship with God. To your
Mhm.
point, it makes it that more solid. It makes it that more awesome, because to your point, sometimes you don't have that outlet where you can let your hair down. And there's some
Yeah.
days you just want to be Jasmine.
Yeah.
There's some days you just
I don't do the whole first lady thing. I'm like, just call me Jazz. They're like, no, we have to call you ladies. I'm like, I guess. But yeah, like I just want to be Jasmine. All of this extra stuff, I just want to be Jasmine. That's what my mama named me. That's what's on my birth certificate. I'm just Jasmine.
it's true. It's really true. And to your point, a lot of people feel exactly like you. I
Mhm.
I never asked to be a co-pastor and then a pastor. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
ask for that. So I'm not caught up on that either. So
Yeah.
I'm content being lady pray. I'm content being, whatever you want to call me. I'm content with that. But let's go a little deeper, because people are chiming in and asking. Let me go here. Angela just said, I feel as though it can be lonely because we put such expectations on women. Angela, you are talking our language, especially lady. We need to talk about that
Of
later, Jasmine.
course.
About the expectation that's put on us. Thank you, Angela.
Oh, man, the
Right?
expectation. You know what it is? I've been in this seat of this expectation my whole life, from being a pastor's daughter to now being pastor's wife. So this expectation has been on me since I was born. Basically, my dad started ministry when I was 1 years old, so I've never known anything else. So you are expected to always be on. You can't have an off day. Um, like you've come in here, some days you know might be feeling some kind of way, just something that you're dealing with personally, and then it's, oh, Lady Jazz came in here with an attitude. Did she speak
Right,
to you? Like I didn't even think of that. I didn't mean to brush past you. That wasn't
right,
my, there was
right,
something else on my mind. Maybe I was trying to rush into because Lord forgive me, I'm always late. I was trying to rush into service. I didn't see you standing there, but people take it to heart. Like, no, that, but if you know who I am, you know the kind of person I am, that's not my heart at all.
right.
But they just, you have to always be on, always be. There's no off days.
Yeah,
There's no off days.
you're right. And it's interesting because I've heard somebody often say light, camera, action.
Mm-hmm.
So you're correct. It's like,
Yep.
and you don't, it's not meant to be that way. Sometimes it is that way.
Right.
Only because you just, it
It's who
just,
you are.
it,
The position you have. Like anybody else can come in here and have a rough day, and everybody's like, "Oh, you okay?" But if you come in, oh, you know, so Lady Jazz said, like it's a total different feeling.
Danielle Marshall just chimed in and said, as a pastor's kid, I believe it's lonely for pastors' wives because they have so much to balance. And that is true. They
Yes.
always do so much for others. And sometimes, and we need to talk about this, Lady Jasmine,
Mm-hmm.
neglect themselves. People forget to check on them, the strong ones. That alone, we could
Yeah, that's my
wait,
sister.
wait, wait,
Danielle, you
yeah,
know
we
it.
put a pin on that one right there for those. You guys keep putting it in, putting your comments in the chat. We need to
That's
stop
so
there for a
true.
second. We need to talk about that.
That's so true. We know our husbands are carrying the burden of the ministry, so we're trying to make sure our home is good. So we try, but we have those two aspects. Like, okay, let's keep pushing them. It's, we got to get kids together, get home together, and we could be so busy with that. We definitely neglect our, ourselves. And I've been in that place where I was just depleted, completely depleted. Like I have nothing else to give, nothing else to give. Like I have to take a moment and breathe and, you know, regain my thoughts. And I think it even got to a point where I told my husband, I'm like, I feel like I'm like losing myself. Like, who am I? Because I
Mhm.
got so caught up in being wife, mother, and, you know, first lady. But I'm like, wait a minute, who am I? What do I need for myself beyond all of this? What do I need for myself?
That's powerful. I even had conversations with people that would sometimes think that there was some kind of competition between the pastor and the pastor's wives. And that's not normally, well, I know if that's not normally the case. I think Danielle hit the head on the nail on the head because sometimes a pastor's wife, you are trying to just balance everything. I've had people come to me, oh, I'm not going to be in service out of respect and honor, which is a blessing.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be in service because of so and so, but may not tell my husband. But
Mhm.
then you can put a spin on it, and that's not the case. It's just that maybe they tried to reach my husband or just felt, well, let me just tell Lady Prince that I'm not going to be here. But I've had sometimes people say that they think that it can become a competition. There is no competition in the kingdom.
Oh no, I'm never in competition with my husband. No, and don't. And the other thing is, don't expect me to be him. I'm
Come on,
not him.
come on,
I the
come
when
on.
I get up and the God gives me something, I'm not going to deliver it
That's
how
it.
Jarrell Solomon does.
That's
You
it.
can't compare us. We're not in competition with each other. We complete each other, and that it's nonsense. It's just so much little new things that we go through and we have to experience in this position.
We really do. We really do. And if, I want to go back to one more thing, Danielle. She said people forget to check on them. People forget to check on us. Thank you,
Yeah.
Danielle. Strong ones. Not that anyone else is strong and our leaders aren't strong, but sometimes, to Danielle's point, in carrying the balance, we do get tired. We get tired too.
Yeah.
And people do forget to check on us. Sometimes, and I'm the kind of person, I'm a giver. You know, that's just my
Mhm.
husband. We're just givers. And I'm just not just a giver of somebody if they're in need. I'm the kind of person, well, I just thought about, let me send some flowers. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking person. And I can remember going through when I even had the stroke the last year,
Oh,
you
you
know,
good.
yeah, you know, people didn't necessarily, I had people check, but I didn't
Mhm.
have people check,
I get what you're saying.
you know, and
It's
then, you know,
very, it could be surface, a little
it
surface. Are you good? And of
was,
course, you're not going to be like, no, I'm just tired. You know, you just need people to pick you up in the spirit.
yeah.
Like,
That's
please
it.
just
That's
pray.
it. That's it. And I'm
Mhm.
grateful for my church. They kept me, you know, and my close friends, they did. But I'm just saying sometimes you just need to know, listen, we got you. Listen, okay, you're going to recover. You know, and
Yeah.
I found myself encouraging other people or we can find ourselves encouraging others. And sometimes we need encouragement. Like tonight, we're on trying to encourage any pastors' wives that are watching, that we understand that it's a balance in that. We get it, but at least we can get up under each other and undergird each other. And I think that's extremely important. Carla chimed in and said, people even want to contact you while you're working on your job. They get upset if you can't contact them back right away. Right, you're right away. So much.
People feel like they are entitled to all of the pastor's time.
Yes. Yes.
That's exactly what it is. You're my pastor. Like your own pastors are always on call. That you don't get no days off being a pastor. But people don't understand, like, outside of being pastor, like, I have a family. I
Yes.
have a business that I have to run, that there are other aspects of who I am as well. And people forget that a lot of times. They only see pastor as pastor.
Right. Yeah. We are going to come back. We're going to take a commercial. This is such a great topic to talk about, dealing with being a first lady, the evolution of the first lady with Lady Jasmine Solomon. Great topic. Listen, get your questions ready, get your comments ready. You still have time to tell people to come on and watch us. We'll be back with Real Talk with Jean Price. Have you been enjoying the show? Make sure you comment and like. Tell us what you want to talk about. It might be featured on the next Real Talk with Jean Price. Well, I can't believe it's been 2 months since we've started Real Talk with Jean Price, and I'm so grateful for your love and your support in helping us get through this small time. So much has happened, so many wonderful things, and I'm grateful. I'm doing well. The Lord is still touching my body. Every checkup that I go to, it's been amazing. So it's been a journey, but can I tell you something? I'm learning in this season not to call it a journey, right? What I'm doing actually is calling it a road. And the reason I call it a road is because when I think about when the Bible says in Luke chapter number 24, the story of a road to Emmaus was about two men. One was unnamed and one was Cleopas. And the Bible goes on to talk about how they were discussing about something that happened in their life. And they were kind of distraught and they were a little discouraged. That's how I was. But the beautiful part about that story is that Jesus came and he was talking with them. And one of the key points in the story that got my attention was he said to them, well, what things were you discussing? And I love the Lord because God goes right to the heart of the matter. And God went to the heart of the matter in my life. And I like to call this a necessary road because hadn't I gone through what I went through in February, I wouldn't be sitting here feeling like I'm feeling right now. I'm just so grateful tonight that doors have opened and many things have happened to have Real Talk with Jean Price where it is today. So I wanted to take this time to come back on and let you know, listen, I'm checking in and I'm doing well. Thank you again for all your support. Thank you very much. We are back on Real Talk. Thank you for coming back. We've been having a wonderful discussion with Lady Solomon talking about the evolution of the First Lady. So I'm going to ask Lady Solomon to come on back and join us, and we're going to continue our discussion. It's been such a great discussion. Listen, guys, chime in on the chat. Make your comments. Let us know that you're on with us. We've been talking about some of the obstacles, if I can call them, and the balancing acts that we do as first ladies and trying to keep it all together. Now I want to go a little deeper. Let's talk about what's it like to really undergird your husband in ministry, and what are some of the spiritual things that you do to undergird Pastor Solomon?
This is a great question. If people don't know, my husband he just came out and told his story of how he struggled with suicidal thoughts. And as a wife, I felt like I failed him. I think I was worried of, ministry, everything going on. I think I lost sight of the gift that God had gave me. And I apologized to him. I said, because I should have been able to, if nobody else did, I should have been able to pick that up in the spirit and to pray you out of that place. So I apologized to him about that. And he's actually right here being recording me and being, over here trying to distract me. But I actually apologized to him about that. Oh my God. I actually apologized to him about that. Like, I haven't been on the wall as I should. I got so caught up in how I was feeling and, trying to juggle everything. Everything was happening so fast for us as far as ministry. And because we grew very swiftly, very rapidly. And as we were growing in the church, our
Right.
family was growing. We were having kids like every year. It was like I was pregnant. So there was like so much going on. And I kind of lost sight and I kind of got off my post as an intercessor for my family, for him. So I think taking those moments and staying grounded in prayer is so important. Um, Outside of the prayer that you have with your husband, outside of the prayer that you have at church, but really taking time and recentering myself with God. And I think that's the place that I've been in, and trying to just help hold his hands up as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, we thank God for Pastor Solomon come and yourself coming through it, and thank you for even sharing that. And I think that, wow, that just to me added a greater element on our conversation tonight, because it does show the humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And though we have titles, and I'm glad that we're not the kind of people that are caught up on the titles, we're still human. And
Yes,
all of us have things inwardly that we struggle with. We have things that we
absolutely.
go through. We have things that are real. And I'm so grateful that you're able to even talk about that, because you'd be surprised how many people have gone through the same thing, or feel the same thing, or have those kinds of thoughts. I think you and I both know of some pastors that have given up ministries and
Yes.
said, I don't even want to do this anymore. And some who have gone all the way and taken their lives and so forth. So I am so grateful for the two of you that you can share that story, and the ownership that you took as a pastor's wife, as a first lady. That's commendable. That's really commendable, because you're right. It's as
Mhm.
Danielle said, she said this is so necessary. But it is necessary, Danielle, to talk about this, because though we have those things that we talked about in the first half of the show that we go through,
Mhm.
it's also important what you're saying in the second half of the show, being that prayer warrior, focusing on the signs. I often say, Lady Solomon, and you can chime in after this. I often say when I teach, I see my husband not just he's not my bishop or my
Mhm.
pastor. I see him as my brother in Christ, and I say that because if we were dealing as brothers and sisters, if all of us were in church, wouldn't we handle them differently? And
Right.
sometimes in the relationship of the pastor, the first lady, or even a marriage, we can treat each other with such enmity, in the sense of, oh, I can pray for you later. Or, we don't sometimes focus in on the importance of it, when it should be, if not more important, if not more
Yeah, I
important.
think because I think we're always focused on making sure everything is right within the ministry, that we get caught up
Yes.
and not realizing, even we can get caught up in like the ministry things, but not realizing the person behind it. Of
Yes.
course, like my husband he's like one of the strongest people I know. He said he can handle it. He got this. Like, I used to call him my Superman. And then I even apologized to him for calling him Superman, because he felt like it's like this Superman
Right.
mentality that he has to put on. He has to be pastor. He has to be the leader of his family. He has to be the leader of his home. Like, it's so much weight. The burden is so great that we really gotta pay attention to when it's getting really tough. And like
Yeah.
my husband, if people know him, he's not gonna show any signs.
Okay.
That's not him at all. Like, he like, no, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna get it done. That's always his mentality. It gotta be done. I'm gonna get it done. He has like this go getter mentality. He's gonna keep pushing. So he it basically burned himself out with the keep pushing, keep going. But that's all I was used to. So I didn't know that it was like becoming a burden to him. But if I was on my position where I should have been in the spirit, I
Mm,
probably wouldn't have missed that. He probably wouldn't have been open to those thoughts and those
right.
ideas.
Right.
So I was like, I have to do better as a wife. I took on that. I'm not saying I'm gonna take on the burden of that, but I took responsibility in what was happening to him because, of course, we are one. But I should have been more. I should have just done more. I feel
Yeah.
though.
Well, what's some of the things that we can do as first ladies to undergird our pastors, our leaders? Because some pastors and leaders, they take time away with their families, and some pastors don't. I tend to believe that it's so important. No, not I believe it's so important to take that time for family vacation, for to step back, make sure you do it at work.
Yep.
There's vacations you take from your jobs. Why is it
Mhm.
that in ministry sometimes we don't feel it as important to take that time, even if it's 2 weeks, go to an island or go someplace and really spend that time with each other and kind of regroup? What are some of the things that we can do as first ladies or those that are watching us can do to kind of keep that together? Because think about this before you answer. PK kids suffer too.
Mhm.
PK, one of the things my daughters, I have three daughters, they're all grown now with children, but one of the things that they missed out on was they wanted more time with us. Yes,
Yeah.
we accepted the calling. I get it. We're going
Mhm.
to follow what God has called, but also they were thrown into it too. So
Right.
how do we balance our children in all of this as well?
Um, well, once that happened, we took a sabbatical for a month. We were off for a month. But I think it's being consistent with that. I think we're always worried about the ball dropping at the church. Well, that's our focus. Like, if I don't get there and do this, this, and that, it's not going to get done. I have to. We're always they're visionaries. They're always thinking ahead. I got to do this. I got to do that. So their mindset is on. I'm building kingdom. I'm building this ministry that God has given me. Cause the blood is on your hands as pastors. So you're always worried about the ministry, but you have to take that time. And I think we've done that now. We've been more intentional about what we're doing, having that time away. Like, okay, let's set boundaries. These are the hours that I'm taking office meetings. These are the days that I'm taking meetings. After this time, I'm not available. It's downtime with my family. Being in a situation with taking the kids on vacations, or even like yesterday, we had a moment where, not yesterday, the day before, we went for a walk with the dog and just stayed outside, outside for like an hour, 30 minutes. Wasn't even that long, but it was those moments, and that's what the kids remember. That's the moments that they remember, and it's a moment for us to
Mhm.
just breathe, like
Yes.
just leave all of that. That's going to be there. It's
Yeah.
going to be there, but we have to tend to what our first ministry is
Yes.
beyond the church. This is our first ministry,
That's
because if the church fails there tomorrow,
right.
we're going to be here.
That
And we
is.
want to make sure that we build those relationships with our children, and with our spouses, that will stand
Yeah.
with, in case that something does happen within the church. Today I took my daughter, our oldest daughter, with us. I took her with me to the nail salon. I'm like, what are you into now? Like, you're changing so much. We have to have these conversations with our children. Like, what do you want to get into? Like, what are your goals? Like, having those intimate moments with them. It doesn't even take much. Kids just want to feel like
Hmm.
you're listening to them, that you see them, you hear them out, and that it's not just all about the church.
Right. Yeah, and again, thank you for saying that because it's really, really important. I can testify to what you're saying even greater. When my oldest daughter was 39, will be 39, when she was 16, everything for us, Lady Jasmine, was to your point, running, running. Monday, and let me make a disclaimer. I am not saying church is not important. Let me just say that. That's not my point.
Yes, that's not what we're saying.
To understand what I'm saying. But to what you're saying, I want to testify how you can lose it, but then God can give it back. But it's just by
Mhm.
grace. And at 16, my daughter backslid because she said, in other words, she was saying, you're not paying attention to me. Everything is about Monday's prayer, Tuesday's Bible study. Then you got choir rehearsal. Then you get it Sunday morning, Sunday. I get it. And so when she backslid, and she went down to live with my brother. You're talking about something that hit me hard, Lady Jasmine. But and an old my old mentor, who's still dear in my life, Mother Coleman, wonderful woman of God, said to me, "You're never going to get your daughter back that way." And she wasn't trying to say that church wasn't important. She
Mhm.
was trying to say make your children important too.
Too.
So
Right.
I wanted to give you a testimony, but that what you're saying is so true. And those are those moments. I won't get that back. because of course, they're grown now, but you have an opportunity to really take what you and Pastor Solomon are doing and really put those things in your children and watch them not disdain the church, but
Right.
embrace the church. And
Right.
that is a greater testimony more than anything.
Right.
More than
My dad, I remember he made it his business. When we were younger, we had family vacations. Like every year we drove somewhere, everybody rented some minivan. It was a bunch of us packed in a minivan. We would drive down to Myrtle Beach, drive down to Florida, but we had those moments. And then he implemented like Thursday nights were family nights. So we would get to pick a restaurant or something that we wanted to do. And those are the memories that I have of how my dad was when while he was pastoring. I mean, it wasn't always those moments, but those are what kids, that's what they remember. You can give them the greatest house. You can give them every pair of sneakers they want. You could give them all the materialistic things, but they remember the moments and the time that you spent with them. That's what they hold on to the most.
yeah. And if I could, the word that came up to me as you were talking, Lady Jasmine, was witness. If we can go out and witness to others in the street or wherever we are, we can be a greater witness to our children and our family. And so,
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying? The greatest witness to me is having all of that and putting it in the right perspective. And I think that's such a great witness to what you said. Your parent, your dad, as you mentioned, was such a great witness in that area of your life that he made a difference. And that's how I am with my grandchildren now, so they can see the God in me, so that
Right.
they can understand the God that we have. To your point, not the God that's going to give me a house and a car and all of that, but a God that you teach them how to, to love on you and you love on God. So this has been absolutely amazing, and people have chimed in. This has been a great show. I am so excited about the fact you came on the show tonight to talk about this. I think people need to kind of hear the other side,
Yeah.
the other side of it. And to your husband, again, we're so grateful. The Lord has really blessed you too, and you're on a great path. And keep doing what you're doing. We're going to
Thank
keep
you.
doing what we're doing.
Definitely. Please keep praying. That's what God is here. The
Listen,
prayers.
listen, listen. Out of everything that we've talked about tonight, it's the prayers of the righteous that availeth
Very
much.
much.
You know what I'm saying? It could be so many other things, but it's definitely it's definitely that. And Onika chimed in and said, "We have your back, Lady Jazz." So you're right.
I
Thank
love y'all. That's the Excelling Fib is on. I love you guys.
That's beautiful. That is so good. And people are enjoying this tonight because we're giving them a fresh discussion about what it's like to be a first lady, but also what it's like to find the balance. And all through the chat, you keep seeing balance, balance, balance. How do we balance? Before we close out, we have about another 3 minutes, Lady Jazz. What could you say to somebody that's getting ready, that's new into being a first lady? And what could you say to somebody that struggling that may want to get out of it for the last minute or so?
Okay, to the person who is about to walk into this,
Yes.
prepare yourself. It may look glamorous on the outside, but prepare yourself. But ultimately, stay rooted in God. Don't lose sight of who you are as a person. You matter. You matter. Your thoughts, your opinions, and who you are as a person, be outside of this, matters. To the person that's struggling in this position at the moment, again, it's prayer. Stay grounded in prayer and find somebody that you can talk to about, because like you said, it's a lonely walk, but find somebody who you can depend on and lean on in this time, that who might understand exactly where you are, and get around some praying people. Pray. Prayer is like my answer right now to a lot of things. Prayer. It's like really, and not just pray, but listen to what God is saying.
Right.
Oftentimes we just, we pray and we're talking so much to God, but we don't listen for what he has to say behind it. So really just in those moments, just listen and hear what he has to say and let him lead you and guide you.
That's beautiful. We hope and pray tonight that something was said. We gave you the side of it of what it was like being the first lady, but we also gave you the other side of what it's like to be a first lady in the sense of honoring with God, because God called him, God called them. And this
Mhm.
has been absolutely phenomenal, talking to Lady Jasmine and getting a great perspective on, it's actually a beautiful thing to be called, and it's an honor for God to call us. That's first and
Yes.
foremost. And you know what I'm saying? And we're so grateful to
God,
that.
thank you for trusting me to be here.
Oh,
Mhm.
this has been phenomenal, Jasmine. Every time, well, this is the second time you've been on the show, and it's been great. But just even giving that perspective about children. So if
Mhm.
anybody's listening tonight, thank you for that, Jasmine, because we're just trying to give you the perspective of allowing your children to be a part of your life, even though you've been called to you have a higher calling in God to do a greater work. You don't want to lose your children. I
No.
know, I don't say plenty. I know several kids that have walked away because they felt neglected.
I was
And
one of them. I walked
okay,
away. Hmm.
all right.
Yep. See, I walked away. I thank God, I'm back now. But there was a period where I walked away too. I'm like, I forget all this church stuff. Like, y'all can have that. I'm gonna go out here and find it out for my own. And
Wow.
it wasn't the best decision. I'm back, but I
Amen.
did have that moment too. So, and my dad, he did come after me. My dad definitely wanted to, be there. But at that point, I was like, whatever.
Well, listen, we thank Lady Jazz for sharing her testimony. Thank you for joining us on Real Talk. We have some wonderful discussions. You don't want to miss a Wednesday. So make sure you join us on Wednesdays at 6:30. We'll see you on the Inspire Living Network live and Fridays at 1 o'clock. We thank Lady Jazz for being with us tonight.
Thank
See you
you for having me.
always. God bless you. Have a good night, everyone.